Welcome to the Obojima Podcast. My name is Jeremiah, and I am with Adam today, and we are the writers of Obojima. We do a weekly writers meeting where we jump together and we jump together.
High five!
Where we hold hands and we jump into the ethereal dark and write a section of Obojima, the cool campaign setting that we've made. So what you're witnessing now is just our jam session where we chat about Obojima, we come up with concepts, we bounce things off of each other, and it is a great time. And today, of all days, we are coming up with subclass ideas. Okay, so we're planning out the expanded universe of Obojima. In the last subclass episode, we had an idea in advance. So we had the Bubble Mage, which is a concept that we realized we wanted to play around with.
Best thing ever.
And I'm in love with it, obviously. It's super fun. But now what we want to do is we want to come up with other subclass ideas. So rather than necessarily fleshing out a subclass, we're going to start jamming with like what are cool subclasses we could do. Now, I swear if anyone brings up the farmer subclass in the comments, I'm going to cry. I get it. I know that you think you want it, but I'm telling you, it's not that cool.
Or is it?
It's not. So we won't be talking about the farmer subclass right now. We'll be talking about other cooler ideas.
I'm already thinking ideas.
Leave me be. Don't torment me.
There will be no tears on this show.
There'll be no tears on the show. It's only afterwards.
Yeah.
Turn the cameras off, then I can cry.
Then the crying begins.
Okay, so, one of the things except with the Bubble Mage, most of the times when we come up with a subclass idea, I feel like we start with, how does a subclass fit into the world? Like what job got turned into a subclass type of situation? With the Waxwork Rogue, it started as a postal knight, delivering packages and making enchanted seals and things like that. With the Sheep Dragon Shepherd, it's just the title. There are shepherds of the the beasts that graze the field. The Dawn Blossom druid, which started based off of the currency actually, and kind of flipping that around in this kind of sacred tree. So they're really connected to the space and these shepherds of these trees on the island and things like that. And there's other examples too. I'm trying to think of them. Oni sorcerers and things like that.
Corrupted rogue
or corrupted ranger. All of them really connected to the world as best we can. And so with that, we try to figure out what else, what else exists, what other ideas we can come up with.
What else fits here?
So it's just about jamming. I don't have anything in my head.
Yeah,
if I'm being totally honest. So we're just gonna go for it.
Spontaneous.
The benefit is we can kind of build for any subclass, right? Because the mage, besides wizard, I say mage just because it sounds cooler. Who doesn't love a good mage?
Yeah.
So we have plenty of options to pick from as far as ideas go.
All right, here's an idea. Like I'm thinking about like jobs, because I think that's a fine way to do this. Like to like, what are the jobs around Obojima? What do people do? And then or you can like think of jobs as themes. Like, what are themes of Obojima? One of the themes and one of the jobs is fishing, sailing, that kind of stuff. So is there a subclass that is a sailor, or is there a subclass that is somebody who bonds with the ocean? Maybe they're divers, or they're really good at swimming, or they have some abilities with water.
I don't hate that. I could see a monk fitting into this subclass.
Interesting. Yeah.
Where like this kind of person who
you like water, my friend.
Yeah, who finds a lot of like peace and calm in like I would say fishing is kind of like forced meditation where, unless you're on like a industrial shipping vessel, like out there with like a crew and hauling in these big nets where it can get really dangerous, the act of fishing for an average person, can be
Oh yeah.
Sail on a lake or sitting on the side. Get someone who fishes in not extreme conditions. It could be quite meditative.
Like a fly fisher, fly fishing. It's like that, swishing back and forth. Like you could have a cool weapon that is like a fly fishing pole where you could like almost like whip. It's almost like a whip where you could snare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like kind of a deal.
You'd also, you could have a handful of, you could pick different fishing implements that kind of change your movesets, which could kind of be cool, where it's like a net, a fly fishing pole, or like a spear.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a spear gun.
Could change the different directions that the class goes in, which is kind of cool.
Can also have like a tackle box with a bunch of different like
little goodies
gadgets
in there.
So they kind of are almost maybe a roguey kind of vibe to them as well.
You could have a pre-built-in, and I do this to myself, but actually no, I'm not going to do this to myself.
Oh no, do it to yourself.
No, it'd be the character would be cool to have a fish companion, like an aquatic companion.
Okay, yeah, just floating around.
But we made a system for that, so use the companion system. Yes. I'm not going to build it into the subclass because companions are just difficult.
Yeah, they're tough.
That being said, I was just watching a clip. Came up on Instagram of Ponyo, a scene from Ponyo.
Oh man, yeah.
And there is the scene, if I'm remembering where it fits in the movie correctly, where the mom and the little boy are driving back to her house as the floods are coming, and she's like rushing, and Ponyo's swimming after them. And there's this moment where the deep black sea turns into this giant like fish that's like the water itself is like a fish that's swimming behind them and like swallowing around them. And I think that's kind of interesting. I think this we have to be careful with water manipulation because I don't want it to necessarily be too close to the river paladin who has a lot of water manipulation.
Yep.
But what I think could be cool is maybe the manipulation of these like you could almost imagine like them pushing out their hand and like a water forms into a fish and like swims over and like push it, like hits someone and dissipates into water and like pushes them backwards.
Could be like they're working with sea spirits.
Yeah.
So it could be more of like a spirit entity that like then evaporates into water.
Yeah.
Instead of actually manipulating the water to form it into the shape of a fish.
Yeah.
So they're more sea spirit workers, sea spirit shamans.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe they could speak to fish just naturally.
Yeah.
And they can walk on water.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Sprint across water. That's kind of fun. Maybe this is kind of funny. There's a potion that allows you to swim on land that we have, where essentially for you specifically, you are while existing on land, feel as if you're in water. So you become buoyant and you can kind of swim around, but you also have like the negative effects of being underwater, which are like you can't really swing a sword really well, and so it looks like you're like swimming through water and you have to paddle and things like that. You could almost make that as like a core ability for this character, where it's like at a certain level they can like
just
swim
across
the land. Like that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's probably tons of different creative ways you can use that in a game.
If we jump back to the fishing pole, it's kind of interesting. There's the monk's ability to catch things out of the air. I don't know if that's a core ability, but if it is a core ability, the fishing net version, you could catch them from a distance. So you could imagine like a projectile coming and you'd be like reeling it in really quick. Can they turn into a fish folk?
Yeah,
like maybe higher levels they can like,
or turn into an actual fish,
or turn into a fish. Like that's just cool. Just turning into like a
blueback salmon.
A blueback salmon.
Yeah, I could do that.
Maybe like a big elder one, like a huge one.
Oh, they could actually participate
on land.
They could participate.
Oh my gosh, they could participate. And if they could speak to fish, would I love this character?
Yeah, that's cool.
Hold on. I also like the ability to, if they can turn into a fish, like what are the benefits of turning to a fish on land? Like maybe you can swim, like because the fish can swim in the air, so maybe they can just.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, whoa.
But this character's really cool.
Yeah, like Obojima all of a sudden becomes the perfect place for this because fish float in the sky.
Fish float in the sky.
Yep. Yeah,
I love it.
And you can speak to a giant koi.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. We're doing
This character's great. Okay. What else got? What else we got?
What are some other...
Well, it's all downhill now.
Yeah.
Because that was the best idea.
Garbage collector?
No, we did that already. That's the fighter subclass.
That's right.
The garbage man?
It's all coming back to the farmer.
Vending machine repair person?
Oh.
Anyone who wants to make a subclass, starting with a visual is so much easier.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay.
Good piece of art.
I'm doing a side note here. This is actually a really cool concept that I've really wanted to do as a podcast episode or a D&D content idea. And it is reverse engineering a character based off of a miniature. So rather than doing the constant struggle of anyone who plays with miniatures, where they go, I make this really interesting, eclectic, unique character, and then go, I can't find a miniature for it. I can't find a miniature for my 3-legged pirate, dwarf, cook, Mohawk guy. Well, how is it possible? How is it so difficult? Instead, to find really unique miniatures and then build your character based off of this miniature.
That's cool.
Really cool idea.
I've done that a long time ago.
Then let's do it on the podcast.
We should do it.
Let's do it. Let's build Obojima characters based off of. We'll have to find like a miniature brand that we can connect with. Or
we
something.
need like four minis.
Yeah.
And just like then backwards. Yeah.
Backwards engineer. Cool. Yeah. Anyways, so this is a side thing. Yeah. Reaper does have a lot of stuff.
They have a lot of stuff.
But can I tell you something? I'm bougie when it comes to my miniatures.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I really like high quality miniatures. Like really.
You like the Warhammer stuff?
Higher quality.
What? You're blowing my mind.
Even high. I know. Resin. So resin cast, you can get really, really... Okay,
I've seen some of the ones you have in the shop.
Well, the ones we make.
Yeah.
We make miniatures. I mean, that portion of the company is significantly smaller. But we, and very
they're
not
crazy.
Obojima. But they're very grim,
you can
dark.
see the rings on dudes' hands. That's how crazy your minis are.
Yeah, they're very... But so I'm a little spoiled when it comes to miniatures. I know. Yeah. But that being said... We are way off topic. If that's something you want to see, like the miniature creation, first of all, use that for yourself. I'm not a gatekeeper. But 2, if that's an episode you want to see or a separate video you want to see, let us know.
I'd be down for that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. But secondly, starting with like a visually cool character and going from there. And so I was trying to think of... I was thinking of that cat artwork with the guy with the fish when I was thinking of like the monk, it has these spectral fish around.
That'd be cool.
So I'm trying to think of what's a really interesting piece of artwork that we have for the world that isn't necessarily a subclass, but we could use as inspiration for a subclass.
Yeah.
There's the artwork of we'll throw it up on screen. There's the artwork of the healer in the hot springs, and she has like a staff, and she has on the staff there's like this eyeball, and then her eyes are bandaged, and then she has this pig spirit that's floating next to her. That's her companion.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I'm like, that is I don't know what subclass, but some really, really cool subclass.
Yeah.
Where it's like, maybe it's like a ocular kind of like future divination styles, mage or cleric or paladin or,
it feels like cleric-y.
It feels cleric-y, but I'm trying to avoid cleric. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe just bite the bullet and do cleric.
Just do it. Let's
I'm trying my hardest not to.
Well, it's like the Obojima version of cleric. So it's not a
It's not a cleric.
Cleric is a loaded word, but
it's a sensitive topic. Yeah. I don't want to bring up the clerics at a time like this.
There's this theme of give and take, and maybe this cleric class is like there are things you can give up to get certain benefits. Oh,
that's sad. Are you saying they gave up their eyes?
But they got this supervision.
Oh, so dark.
So it's sad. A little dark.
It's a little dark. It's cool. Dark. It's cool. I love it. I love that kind of stuff. I love sacrifice.
You know who would also love this?
Ari.
Ari would love this.
Moment of silence. He's not dead, but
no. Do we have a geomancer? Like
I don't know what that is.
Like an earth, somebody who deals. I'm thinking of people who are in the land of hot water.
I deal in earth.
I deal in earth.
I deal in soil. Okay, buddy. Well, we take coins here.
And you know what we're doing? We're going to farmers because they deal in soil.
Oh gosh,
I know.
That's like a very John Wick, Bruce Willis line right before the farmer puts the villain down. Hey, bub. I deal in soil.
Yeah, you're going to deal in soil.
You're going to be in the soil.
You're going to take a dirt nap.
Part of Obojima, and you can kind of see it influence the magic, is infrastructure, right? Like the concept of that, of the villagers in Tidewater generating a new spell that allows them to make sand walls and structures like that. You know, if that's something like maybe there's a specialty druid that, but the bubble mage is also a druid. But that being said, I forgot the bubble mage is a druid. I think that's what we were talking about. Yeah. But anyways, you know, a specialty druid or a wizard that like just deals in like shaping the earth.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've also said that the first age, like buildings have like latent magic within them, and then weird things happen, like in Yadamon that happens. Maybe is there like a first age subclass that deals in first age magic?
Well, the fighters like that, right? Where they like, well, they're technically spirit fused, but they deal with the interaction between the spirit putting magic into a first age object.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It's kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
But what about this art? Throw it up on screen.
Okay.
Of like these animated pumpkins, which I know are technically companion spirits, but you know, Vargai, one of our artists, this isn't art for Obojima necessarily, but does a lot of stuff with pumpkins. And we have this like giant jack-o'-lantern spell, and jack-o'-lanterns in a location that it's not going to make it into this book, but are in other places, are important in some capacity where these jack-o'-lanterns exist. And so there's like kind of this fall vibe for some of these characters. I'll pull up the artwork here and I'll show it to you so you can get on the same page. But this character, there's also the potion that turns your head into a jack-o'-lantern, and gives you like these spectral powers that you can see, which are super, super cool. But yeah, you can see like here's a great example of this character interacting. You're gonna have to find some images, Miles. Cool. I'm sorry, because I don't have all these, but like here's another character with this pumpkin in it. And so I almost wonder if like there's a subsect, like a faction and or a group of people, like the Pumpkin Guard or something like that. The Patch Club. Yeah,
Guardians of the Patch.
Yeah. You know, that have these special interactions with pumpkins.
The Hallowed Guard.
This kind of like,
I mean, maybe it's pumpkins, but it's also, it could be
gourds.
Gourds in general, and squash.
Squash.
Maybe it has to do with twilight, or maybe it has to do with solstices and equinoxes and things like that.
I am okay with a farming style subclass.
My plan.
But the farmer fighter is a bit interesting. That being said, someone who grows, like, imagine like a farmer growing all these pumpkins and like enchanting them, or growing all of these like imbuing magic into stuff is cool.
Yeah.
But just a farmer who's like, I'm strong and I till the earth is like less exciting to me. But someone who's like actively infusing plants with magic is interesting. Yeah.
It's like a good version, a good Obojima version of Green Goblin. But you're, instead of creating like these crazy little,
I'm somewhat of a scientist myself.
Yeah. You know, instead of creating like these horrible we can put in some William Dafoe, but but instead of being like you're a scientist, I mean, in some ways you're a scientist because you're okay. Bear with me. You're a farmer.
Which are scientists.
Which are scientists.
Field scientists.
Yeah, you're a chemist. You're an alchemist. You're an astronomer because you're having to figure out like.
Can we cut back to a different Willem Dafoe meme where he's like, oh, there's so many interesting things about him. He's gay. He likes classical music.
Oh, so many good Willem Dafoe bits. But yeah, this mystical farmer.
It's
farmer. A mystic. Maybe that's the subclass.
Scientist,
mystical farmer.
He's a field researcher.
He's a Delta Force agent. Like, no, he does all this stuff, but like, you can, like, I don't know, maybe pick 4 different kinds of things you grow, and then what kinds of like magical properties can you put into them, and then as you go up in level, you get to make more and more powerful things. And
I think that's cool. I think like the manipulation of like farmers using magic to grow things like is to me makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like there's probably a level and there's artwork too. We'll throw up the artwork of the farmer growing plants of farmers using magic to enhance their plants is like baseline. Like every farmer probably knows a cantrip or uses potions or something like that. And then there's like the farmers that are really good at it, where it's like, oh, we, like maybe it's like you could imagine on a farm, there's a couple different people are helping. And it's like, oh, Julie, I'm using Julie again. Let's use a different name. Abathrax.
It's just vision like a 70s metal band.
Abathrax. We cut to a little girl. She's really, she's above average in farming magic, and so she like can affect a lot of crops, and she can do a lot of things. And there's like people who are naturally gifted to be able to do it. And then there's like the study and practice of people who get very good at it. And that when you get to that level, that's when you become like a first level thing, like a first level pumpkin patch guard or whatever, right? Like the people who are so good at this that they can like on a regular basis achieve this magic and animate, like, oh, I'm animating my crops to help me, take care of my farm, that kind of stuff,
Yeah. I mean, does this person's magic just is it just for their crop, or can they actually go out into the world and say, like do a vine and have a vine entangle you? Do they kind of get this sort of druidic vibe?
You could do.
Or is it that they grow all their stuff, they outfit themselves, and then they go adventure?
What would be really, really cool
is
you could imagine, the I don't know who uses this in real life, but probably like someone who needs to get those little change things that are on the side of your hip.
Yeah.
Like and you get like a bunch of them. I don't know who's using that.
Vendors at like used to be at
like baseball games.
Yeah.
So like, oh yeah, here's your change.
Or like people at bus stations. Like
you could imagine that, except it's different. It's like an array of seeds. And this person has a ton of seeds, and they grab a handful and they throw them, spread them out, and they instantly like grow out to do whatever the thing is.
Cool.
And this also could be the source of all of these these plant related magics, like vegetable blade.
Oh,
like right, vegetable blade is pretty powerful and like a very unique thing. There's the pumpkin patch one that grows a ginormous jack-o'-lantern and is like incredibly protective. It's kind of like Wall of Force, except it's not that. And there might be a few others, but I think it's a good reverse engineering of like, we had bubble magic. So is there a specialist on in bubble magic? And the same thing, it's like we have these like plant and vegetable and farming related magics. Is there a specialist in this type of thing? Probably.
There has to be.
And they're also a druid. Everyone's a druid.
Well, this is a very pastoral farming setting.
Yeah, that's true.
But, you could also make it...
I could see it be like, I'm not a... sorry for any sorcerer fans out there. I'm not a huge fan of the like my bloodline thing.
My bloodline.
Like
I come from a line of kings.
I come from a line of kings. Dragon, this flower only blooms on the graves of my bloodline. So I'm not a huge fan of that, because I think what it turns into is it either turns into this like higher, like mighty, very like I'm this ancient, important group of people. Or the other thing that's like, okay, you're part dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? Like, it just like, there's like sorcerers have some like, some oof behind it where it's like, this doesn't, like, it's not great.
It's like Zeus, Zeus turns into a swan and, does Zeus stuff. And, people are like, well, no, there's a demigod got born, it's a sordid, weird past. And, if you want to think about it, well, it's like, okay.
but to take the sorcerer in a different route.
Yeah.
And because Obojima gives, we've established that Obojima as an island will grant magical powers and gifts to people.
Yeah.
And so what if it's like there's a farming bloodline, like just a group of farmers that like were excellent and maybe they like generations ago saved half of the island from a drought.
Yeah.
Like people were failing to grow crops, and this group, this family fed, like opened up their farm and kept a huge portion of like the Gale Fields and the Gift of Shiratashi fed. And because of that, Obojima like blessed their bloodline. And so like these sorcerers who have this like innate ability to have this magic kind of
they can like consciously
shape things.
Yeah, they can say like, as they're planting their seeds, maybe they're envisioning in their head, or they're singing a song that is about like what this thing's supposed to do.
And then that family could be dispersed amongst Obojima now. So rather than that family existing still, as in like, oh, you're part of the Willow Winds, it's almost like the Bene Gesserits from Dune, where like early on everyone was marrying into this family because they had this like innate ability, and now it's just been dispersed amongst like, oh yeah, like I didn't even know that my grandparents, like that you had this bloodline existed within you. Like we didn't, like it's been so many generations have gone 1,000+ years, and it's like, oh yeah, it's just like every once in a while a sorcerer comes out and you're like, oh my gosh, this.
Or a child is born and that kid just decides like one day like they just take to farming, and then all of a sudden they grow something and they have this thing and it shines a light and it hovers, and then they're like, oh, you're one of those.
How weird do we want to get with this?
Totally weird.
Okay, 2 of the art pieces, the people have pumpkin patch, like jack-o'-lantern heads. What if one of these sorcerers, when they're born, has a little pumpkin,
Love
like
it.
a little vine coming from their head?
Yeah.
And as they get older and older, evenally
your whole head
their whole head becomes a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, that's great. I think,
no matter the race.
No matter the race. And I think, we of course we can just say optional if you want to go all in.
You're required.
Okay. You have to do
it. You have to have a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, you're not playing Obojima if
you're
you don't
not
do
playing
that.
Obojima. You're getting kicked out. I kind of love this.
I do. Yeah, I think it's good.
But I also love the monk too. Like honestly, both of those are great.
Those are fun, and they feel very Obojima.
They feel very Obojima. Yeah. Now here's the question: we have like 15 minutes left.
Oh no!
Can we come up? The puck of time.
It is a taskmaster.
It is a taskmaster.
It is a cruel taskmaster.
Yeah, it doxed me last time we went over.
Jeremiah lives at 6421.
Yeah, my social security. I saw it out it painted on the side of the street. Yeah. Oh, puck of time.
We won't go over again. Puck of time.
But in that time, can we come up with a third?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
It's a challenge.
Go ahead. Do it. Go ahead.
All right. Well, we've got the sheep dragon herder, but is there any other like?
What if you're just a sheep dragon? Just kidding. What if you just play a sheep dragon?
There are no bad ideas. We have to no censoring.
Wow, Ari gone. We really are.
Oh man, we're like a ship without a keel. We're just like afloat, adrift in madness.
A key line without a pie.
Yeah, Ari's the one. Yeah, it always brings us back to sanity.
He really
and without
does.
it was just madness.
Yeah,
it's just madness.
We're just 2 clowns one-upping each other.
We're 2 lost souls swimming in a fishbowl.
To
quote Pink Floyd.
okay, so culturally, the water is very significant, and I think we've done that. We've done
the fisher
farm. We have an amount of spirits, which I think are great. There's also the challenge of like how would we generate another warlock? Because we don't have, warlocks have this thing.
Patrons?
Where they have to have a patron for anyone. Of course, everyone knows. But a warlock needs a patron. We've already kind of mentioned that we've removed higher powers from Obojima. So like the highest of powers are spirits, like elder spirits. Yeah. But even they are, they live amongst us and they, they're a bit far removed, but they're not to the level that like a god or a great old one would be. And so with a warlock, it comes down to like what exists in the world that could be something to grant another creature power like that besides a spirit.
I mean, yeah.
Could it be a great beast? Could it be one of the great beasts? Like there's three great beasts: the Sky King, the Hunter, and the Sky Salamander.
Because the player could pick one of those beasts as their patron.
Yeah.
And then each one of those grants a certain kind of thing. And then, they're kind of connected to. So
that's kind of cool.
That's kind of neat. I'm liking where this is going.
Again, all of our subclasses are like, so here's the thing. You start here and then you pick like 9 options.
Yeah. Are 3 patrons terrible? Is that?
No, I think it's cool. Yeah. But I think we'd have to make unique abilities for all of them.
Yep, we would. It'd be totally worth it. And also,
they're all really cool looking too.
Doing those things, we start to describe what these great beasts are. Like we kind of start to define them more. Because right now we're just like big bird, big lizard, and skeletal shark. Like
sometimes that's all you need though.
It is. I mean, I love the mystery. But if you pick one as a patron, then you start to get into like, okay, what powers are they going to give you? Or what strength are you deriving from them?
Like this warlock character, like I'm imagining like a young kid or something, and they're a warlock with the patron of the Sky King, and they have like a skeletal shark hat on, like that looks like they're in the jaws of the Sky King, or kind of taking inspiration from the Heron from The Boy and the Heron when he's in his little dude form. I don't know what you'd call that, when he's like kind of like the like he's like the human version of himself. It almost looks like a person wearing a heron suit, and like the heron's jaws are stretched open around his head that pops out of its mouth. Like I kind of like that vibe. You could you could have the skies like maybe these people that culturally like follow these people and are gaining some amount of power, just wear these types of outfits just because it's cool. I think it's funny.
And like, the Obojiman people would just kind of see one of those and just be like, oh yeah, like they're like, they've kind of gone all in. They're the ones who have sought out the holy places or whatever, the power centers where these, like for the Sky Salamander, you would go up to the ledge of offerings and you would, or try to find its lair. The Sky King, maybe there's some place that's on the ground where it's sort of like the center of that, or maybe as the ultimate goal is to try to get up to the Sky King. Like maybe there's one of these warlocks that's working with Rock Rayleigh to try to get up there.
I think there's something with the Sky King being the oldest of the 3. I think there's something interesting that it doesn't land. Like it goes into the ocean, maybe.
Maybe it's underwater.
But it never lands on land. It lands on Obojima. With the salamander being the youngest, it's constantly like it has a roost and it it lives on land partially. And then with the hunter, like,
it's eternally gliding.
It's eternally gliding, or maybe it perches on top of Mount Abora and looks over, and it's like neat. This ginormous, stork. Looking over everything.
So we've got a warlock that derives powers from these creatures,
these 3 great beasts.
And I mean, that's all we need, really?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of it's kind of cool.
I actually
really love all these 3 subclasses.
And we did it with Under the Puck of Time.
Under the Puck of Time.
Oh, but take that, Puck of Time.
Haha.
No doxing for you.
No, you can't give up my social security this time.
It's like you cut to a scene inside of the Puck of Time. Curses.
Yeah. Yeah, I love all 3 of those. I mean, I think, okay, so let's talk about Warlock. Sorcerer, maybe.
Yeah, Sorcerer for the farmer.
And then Monk.
Yeah, for the fisher.
And then
fishing.
I think if we're still doing the Bubble Mage into Druid, I like that.
Cool.
And then possibly the Cleric with the Divination Terror. But the issue with Divination is it doesn't feel very Obojima-like.
Well, what if it's not Divination, but if it's, what would it be? You've got this eyeball a floating eyeball on the...
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I've been there.
Well, woke up with that a couple mornings. You got.
It's so dead. Does anyone like this?
Well, I mean, the art's cool, right?
Yeah. Oh no, I meant us.
Please, let us know if you're you guys are just, but
no, the art's no. I agree. The art's cool.
So that says to me, there's something there.
But maybe it's just that's just her. She's just unique, and she has this cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to make a subclass out of it. It's just what happened to one weird NPC.
Yeah.
And they had this crazy thing happen to them. There you go. I mean, yeah, because if you make a subclass out of it, that's why I was kind of saying the theme of give and take. So there is that theme. If this is a character instead of just an NPC, their give and take choices have led to this look of what they're doing. Another character might do different choices and then have another look of what their character is. So, but it explains why they've taken, they've popped out their eyes and then they get the hovering eyeball and it allows second vision,
It is not too dissimilar to the Corrupted Ranger, though, as well. Because later down, I mean, not necessarily. Later down the line, they're kind of forced to picking which illness is they're experiencing. Yeah, and that illness then leads to some sort of power. So, I believe it's they might have a graying lung, or they might be their eyesight might be fading, or losing feeling in their hand. But then in return, they get some sort of enhanced version of that thing.
Yeah. So so that's taken. So then, what is an Obojima cleric then? Are they using, We've already used the farming thing, so it's not like they're using plants to heal or something like that.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because I mean, although we've explained how paladins do it, a cleric just feels. I think the difference between a paladin and a cleric is a paladin feels like a martial character who is taking inspiration from, a set of who is using faith in a set of ideals, and Obojima is granting power through that. Yeah. With a cleric, it's there's just so much because of the cleric's base line abilities. They're just your I almost said domain expansions. Getting into Jujutsu Kaisen here. No, your
domains.
Not the domains,
school.
but the what are the things that they can do? They can shoot them off twice a day. It's their main core ability. The first thing one of them is destroy undead. What is that thing called? It's a
turning undead.
Yeah, but what's the name of that thing? People are going to be screaming in the comments. Open a player's handbook.
There was a time when I worked there that was I knew all this stuff and I just promptly forgot.
This is crazy. I don't play clerics very often.
No.
But the core of a cleric is just feels disconnected from Obojima to me. It just still truly does.
I think if we did a cleric in Obojima, we would have to rebuild it. We'd have to say, look, D&D clerics do this.
Yeah.
You're throwing all that out. A cleric in Obojima is going to do this. There are going to be some things that a D&D cleric does, but generally, if you want to play one, toss out all this stuff and do that. So you're kind of even creating a new class.
Yeah, and it's like, what's the... I think the part of a cleric, the reason, again, I struggle to do a cleric, is the part of a cleric is their unique relationship with their god and granting power through religion.
Yeah.
And if we're stripping religion away from a cleric, with a paladin, I felt like it kind of worked. But specifically with a cleric, it's like...
Yeah.
It just feels like, what's the point of playing a cleric anymore? Yeah. Now we're just making a subclass to have a magic user, essentially. And so, like, with Paladin being the fact that they're kind of like Gish characters that are half magic users, half fighters, it made sense to include this. But with specifically a cleric, if we're pulling away the god aspect of it, how is it any different than these other types of spellcasters? So
what is a pure healer in this world? Like, okay, like I'm a healer. I come from a lineage of healers. We know maybe it's healing through using spirit energy, or it's healing through plants and herbs and stuff like that. And we're not pushovers. We can still throw a punch and take a staff and bonk people on the head if we need to.
Yeah.
That to me is probably the closest that Obojima is going to come to a cleric.
Yeah. And if Obojima were to have that, I feel like it would probably be through medicinal means.
Yeah. Yeah. That feels right.
Yeah. So anyways, it's something we'll figure out. That being said, I think we came up with some great ideas.
Yeah.
If you want to hear us flesh out any of those ideas, let us know which ones you're most interested in the comments below.
Yeah.
And we'll maybe revisit one of these topics later down the line.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, thank you so much for joining us on the Obojima Podcast. My name is Jeremiah, and I'm joined by Adam. And you can catch us on other podcast platforms. If you're listening on YouTube, you can also listen on Apple Music and Amazon Music and Spotify and other things like that.
All the stuff.
And you can catch us on Discord. Join the community, talk about playtest material, talk about the podcast episodes, and things like that. And thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you all later.